every manga fan has a handful of manga that is very close to their heart. For me, it comes from when I was a kid, when I first started reading. And those manga are Yu-Gi-Oh!, Dragon Ball Z, and of course, my favorite manga of all time, Rosario Plus Vampire. However, there is one more manga that's close to my heart that I haven't really discussed that much. And that manga is Beet the Vandel Buster. Beet the Vandel Buster is the story of a boy named Beet. He's a Vandel Buster, if that wasn't clear to you already by the title. Vandel Busters, or Busters for short, are warriors that fight against the Vandals. And who are these Vandals? Well, the Vandals are these sentient and human-like beings that hunt down and kill humans. They just appeared one day in Beet's world, and since then, they have ushered in the Dark Age. This Dark Age, also known as the Century of Darkness, is the post-apocalypse of Beet's world. There used to be airplanes, cities, and everything else that you can think of in a modern civilized society. But the arrival of the Vandals caused the apocalypse of Beet's world, and now the human race is no longer at the top of the food chain. Now it does need to be made clear though that in Beet's world, Vandals aren't exactly monsters. The name of the race, Vandel, is derived from the words vampire and devil. We traditionally think of vampires as part of the monster crew, but I would never bunch in a demon. Demons, at least in my mind, are a different thing. So when it comes to Vandals, the character of the race is much like the combination of the two. They are half demon and half monster. In addition to the split attribute of their race, the Vandals also produce monsters to use for their bidding. These monsters can be ferocious like this whale, or they can be cute and harmless like my tree guy right here. And man, do I like my tree guy. Just look at him. He's so fucking cute! Now to fight these Vandals, the human race must have something up their sleeve, right? I mean, guns and pretty much high firepower is pretty much short at hand now. It's the post-apocalypse. So how do the humans, the Vandel Busters, hope to compete against these guys? In order to compete against the Vandals, the Busters rely on a power called the Divine Power. The Divine Power is the counterpart to the Vandals' Dark Power. It is described as a superhuman force, but it pretty much is just magic. Every person in Beet's world actually has some amount of Divine Power, but it is only after training or unlocking its potential after signing a contract to become a Buster that a human can use it as a divine attack. The manifestation of this magic classically manifests itself as the four elements of earth, air, fire, and water, but it can also manifest itself in other ways like the classic white magic spell of Barrier. Another manifestation, and the coolest manifestation of this magic, is the Saiga. No, it's Saiga, not Sega. Saiga are weapons that Busters can create by channeling the Divine Power. They can be something like a sword, or even something like a shield. Using the Saiga, the Busters can have somewhat of a fighting chance against the Vandals, and it is in this area of humans having a fighting chance that we find our main character residing in. Anyway, this series is very close to my heart because it is one of the first series that I started reading. I still remember how in middle school, at my school's library, how frustrated I would get because whenever I wanted to read the next volume or read something else from a previous volume, that volume would always be checked out by somebody else. My reading experience of this manga has often been halted and broken because of my fellow middle schoolers at the time. I never really got a chance to really sit down and read volumes 1 to 12 uninterrupted as a kid, but I have now. So, now that you have a good idea what this series is about and what my connection is to it, let's check out the characters. So the main character of Beet the Vandel Buster is Beet, the Vandel Buster. When we first meet Beet, he is a child that idolizes the famous Vandel Busters, the Xenon Warriors. The Xenon Warriors are widely known by humans and Vandals as one of the strongest, if not the strongest, Busters. They are so well known for their abilities that they are even feared by the humans they fight to protect, except for Beet, of course. Beet looks up to these heroes, and these guys basically act as Beet's older brothers. One of these guys actually happens to be Beet's older brother, but we'll talk more about that later. One day, the Xenon Warriors return to Beet's hometown of Uncruz, and they have arrived to confront a dangerous Vandal named Beltors. It is this fight with the Xenon Warriors and Beltors that will forever change Beet's world in more ways than one. After this battle, Beet then trains as a Vandel Buster, and along the way he forms a team called the Beet Warriors to fight against the Vandals. Alright, so that's some information about Beet, but let's go a little bit deeper. What drives Beet to become a Buster? Is it just because he idolizes his heroes? No, Beet sees what his heroes are doing as justice, even if they don't. Beet wants justice for the human race, and he wants the end of the Dark Age. This pursuit of justice is the most important attribute of Beet, and it is the thing that makes others gravitate towards him. The second most important attribute about Beet is that he can use 5 Saiga. Busters traditionally, and when I say traditionally, I mean that it was pretty much thought to be only can use 1 Saiga. The Saiga is the manifestation of divine power, as I said before, but it is also the extension of a Buster's soul. Each Buster has 1 soul, so 1 Saga, but Beet has 5. Despite Saiga traditionally being manifested by building up to it or by training with the divine attacks, Beet pretty much sucks at any divine attacks and is only good at Saiga. Now, the third most important thing about Beet is his sleep cycle. Yeah, Beet's sleep cycle is actually very important to the series. Beet can stay up for 3 days and then sleep for a full 4th day. During the 3 days that he's up, he can pretty much play, do chores, or train all he wants. But as soon as it is the 4th day, his day of rest, his body basically shuts down and he's defenseless against outside forces. Beet is the only known character so far to have this strange sleep cycle, and it might be because Beet has a large amount of divine power stored within him. Alright, so that is our main boy Beet, but every main boy's gotta have a main girl, right? Well, that main girl is Paula. Paula is Beet's childhood friend and the girl that Beet is going to marry someday. Or at least that's what Beet has told everyone. Paula claims that she's not in love with Beet and often beats him up for saying it, but it's pretty clear to everyone that she is. She's just embarrassed about it. I will say though that if you're into like romance manga or kind of romantic stuff going on, like Naruto, Hinata, or Sakura, Sasuke, if you're into that kind of stuff, you're not gonna get it here. You're not gonna find some fleshed out romance between Beet and Paula. With Paula, it's pretty clear that she's in love with Beet and is embarrassed talking about it, but with Beet, he just says it nonchalantly like it's a fact. He's just like, yeah, Paula's the love of my life. What else do you want to know about me? Anyway, like Beet, Paula becomes a Vandel Buster, but unlike Beet, she does not become a Buster for some pursuit of justice. She becomes a Buster to protect her hometown, and it is only after Beet's return from training that Paula joins with him in his pursuit. Paula joining Beet forms the Beet Warriors and the beginning of their big journey. Also, in many ways, Paula is a mirror image to Beet. Beet is male, while Paula is female. Beet can use Saiga, Paula can't. Beet sucks at using Divine Attack, Paula can competently use the Divine Attack. Beet is comfortable in the countryside, Paula is comfortable in towns. Beet is not financially intelligent, Paula is financially intelligent. Beet's jacket is orange, Paula's jacket is the complementary color of blue, and both are Vandel Busters. Paula helps keep Beet's head on straight through their adventures, and without Paula, Beet probably would have died many times already. Thankfully though, he has her on his side. Alright, so now let's talk about the next character, that character being Kisu. Kisu, although not the third person we meet in the story that will eventually join the Beet Warriors, is the third person to join the team. Beet and Kisu first meet in their early years as Busters when they are still learning how to become competent, and that's where we see that Kisu is a good-looking smooth talker, and before he and Beet part, Kisu expresses that he will become the greatest master of the Divine Attack, someone worthy of being on the team with the man that is going to end the Dark Age. At the time of the flashback, Kisu is acting cool and calm, but when Beet meets him again later on, something is off. What's off about Kisu is that he is not the same man that he once was. And what I mean by that is that when he was younger, he signed the contract to become a Vandel Buster, the guys and gals who protect humanity and collect bounties while fighting against Vandals and monsters. But now, he's actually betrayed his occupation and betrayed humanity in favor of the Vandals, the people he's sworn to fight against. What happened to cause this change? The cause of Kisu's betrayal of the Vandel Busters and humanity is in fact his perceived view of his betrayal by the Vandel Busters and humanity. When Kisu was learning how to become a competent warrior, he joined a famous team of busters that he idolized. He in effect obtained exactly what Beet wanted when he wanted to join the Z9 warriors. One day though, Kisu and his team confronted a strong Vandel and he was told that he would attack head on while the rest of the team have time to launch their own attack. However, this plan was a farce and it was actually a plan to sacrifice Kisu in order for the rest of the team to save themselves. The Vandel then killed the betrayers and spared Kisu, and from this event, Kisu began to have more confidence in the Vandel race than the human race. Not necessarily because he believed what the Vandels were doing with the killing of humans was right. I mean, when you really think about it, the humans are doing the same thing but against Vandels, but because he believes that as a whole, there are qualities that Vandels have that he believes are superior. These qualities being the classic gentleman qualities of duty, loyalty, chivalry, and respect. Obviously though, there does exist humans in Beet's world that have these qualities, and with the biggest example being Beet, the main character. But when put into perspective, this is the Dark Age. Very few humans in Beet's world at this time have these qualities. Beet is pretty much like an exception, he's like the chosen one. So with Kisu seeing these qualities in the Vandels, or at least the attempt to have these qualities, it does make sense why he would favor them over humans. Also, it makes even more sense when you consider the fact that at this time in Beet's world, Vandels are the dominant race. It makes sense why there would be some humans who would be okay with being a subjugate class. And if you don't think that's true, a good example that I would recommend taking a look at is The Promised Neverland. I think that's a good example of what I'm talking about here. Anyway, Kisu joined the side of the Vandels, but after the arrival of Beet, he regains confidence in humans and busters. He fights against the lord he swore to serve and displays a great ability of divine attack, so great that he may one day be worthy of the title of the greatest master of divine attack. He then joins the Beet Warriors as the third member, and he fights against the Vandels as both a buster and a fugitive from the law. Alright, so that was the third member of the Beet Warriors. Who's the fourth? Well, the fourth member of the Beet Warriors hasn't formally joined the team, and what I mean by that is that he does his own thing, and he kind of just keeps in touch with the affairs of his pal Beet. This guy's name is Slade, and he's pretty much the Sasuke, Kurapika, EA, or Vincent Valentine of the group. He is cool, cold, and he's also Beet's friendly rival. Now what makes Slade interesting though, is that we don't really know that much about him. Unlike all those other guys I mentioned earlier, Slade doesn't really have much of a backstory. All we really know is that he's a buster, he and Beet became friendly rivals in the past, and he's cool. Right now, it kind of seems like there's just a big hole to Slade's character, and I think that was purposeful. I think that later on there might be a big adventure that explains his backstory, maybe some cool stuff goes on, and maybe explains why he's so cold and calculating, and maybe even why he's also very reluctant to join Beet's team, but he still keeps in touch with him, maybe why he keeps him at a distance even though he likes him. Anyway, so let's get to the fifth, well, kind of the fifth member of the Beet Warriors. The person that I'm talking about is Milfa. Yes, that is her real name. Milfa is a broad buster, meaning that she is part of a special class of busters that have both the duty and authority to punish Vandels and bad busters like Kisu. She's also very flirtatious, and after finding out that Beet is taken, she puts her efforts towards our handsome pal right here. Now, Slade, he's kind of an informal member of Beet's team, but with Milfa, although she does fight cooperatively with them, she's not a member of his team. She's actually the leader of her own warriors. Yes, Milfa is the leader of the Milfa Warriors. She mainly is sticking around because of the criminal Kisu, who she has fallen in love with, and also who she has to bring to justice by making him answer for his crimes. Milfa also aids Beet's team in fights, and actually during a big one, she pretty much saves their asses, but I won't spoil that for you yet. Alright, so those are the main characters of the story, but who is the big baddie? Who is the main villain? Well, to really talk about him, it's time that we start talking about the story, starting with the most important chapter of the story, Chapter 1. The story begins with our boy Beet becoming a Vandel Buster. He shows up to the appraiser's house within his hometown and receives the branding, officially making him one of them. Meanwhile, outside of his hometown, the Z9 warriors have arrived and have taken down some monsters. We then see who the members of this team are, and they are Lio, Cruz, Bluezam, Outside, and of course, Xenon, the coolest name of the bunch. The warriors then head into town, and then the gate talks to them. Yeah, so around the town there is walls that guard it from the outside world that prevents monsters and vandals from coming inside, and part of this wall is a gate, and the gate has a face, and it can talk. I don't know why, I don't know how, I guess it's just gotta be magic, and if this gate is destroyed, does that gate die, and when they put up a new gate, is it a new gate, or is it not? Is it connected to the walls? Is it still the same? I don't know. I honestly don't fucking know. Anyway, the Xenon warriors show up, and Xenon reveals to the townsmen that the monsters that attacked are not made naturally, meaning that they are following the command of a powerful Vandal nearby. Beet then shows up to see his heroes, and he then reveals to them that he has joined their ranks. Clearly, this is a problem since Beet is so young, and it turns out that it is Lio's fault for giving Beet the suggestion. From finding out that Beet is just signing his life away to become a buster, a young Paula slaps Beet and then carries him off. She gets mad at him, he tells her that it'll be okay and that he'll marry her someday, and then he gets punched in the face. It's here that we first find out some backstory about Beet. Beet's parents died when he was young, and since then he's been raised by Paula's family. It also turns out that Xenon has a special connection to Beet. Paula's parents have been taking care of Beet on Xenon's behalf, and they even left him and his team rest at their home when they arrive. What could this mean? We then see Beet foolishly trying to take on some weak snail monsters as Lio laughs at him, and then Xenon gives him some advice. Our boy here also explains why he wanted to become a buster, and explains why he wants to pursue justice like his heroes. He then spends some time training until he falls asleep, and that is when the main bad guy of the story makes his appearance. The main villain of the story is called Beltors, and he is the king of tragedy. He challenges Beet's idols to a fight, and that's when Beet wakes up. Beet wakes up from his full day's rest to see his idols fighting Beltors, and this Vandal also reveals that he's not here to destroy the town, but to destroy Xenon's team. Like how the Busters have a ranking system based on how many and how strong monsters and Vandals they kill, so too do the Vandals have, but in the inverse for humans. In fact, also just like how Busters gain compensation for their feats, so too do Vandals. Beltors' goal is to kill the warriors to obtain a star on his wrist, which he says is worth more than destroying an entire country. The fight then begins, and Beet is in awe. It appears that the good guys are going to win when our boy cheers. But this then gives Beltors an opportunity to use Beet as a distraction by killing him. Beet then dies. Yes, I know this whole series is called Beet the Vandel Buster, but our main character has just died. Well, kind of. Yeah, so apparently this event is considered Beet's death in the story, and even wikis consider it too, but Beet can still breathe and talk until the Xenon warriors intervene. These heroes then choose to save Beet's life over theirs, and they insert their remaining life force into their Saiga and then into Beet's body. It is this gift from these heroes that saves Beet's life and also grants him the ability to use all 5 of their Saiga. Our boy tries protesting to his heroes, but then a secret Beet didn't know is revealed. Every one of the Xenon warriors treated Beet as their little brother, but for Xenon, Beet actually is his little brother. Xenon left his brother in the town of Uncruz in order to keep him safe and away from this buster life, but I guess fate wanted these brothers to fight the same fight after all. The Xenon warriors then take on the fearsome Beltors without their Saiga, and the next thing our boy knows is that he is awake and both his heroes and the Vandal are missing. Beet cries shamelessly for his last day, and now it is 3 years later. In this time, Beet has left his hometown in order to train, and Paula has become a buster to protect her town. She angrily asks where our boy has been all this time, and that's when we see him sleeping in a pond. He easily destroys a snail monster with a slight movement of his head, and now he is back 3 years later to return home. And with that, that is the end of chapter 1 as well as part 1 of this review. I hope to see you guys again next time, And in the meantime, let's take another look at my favorite monster in this series. Look at him! Just look how fucking cute he is!